Hello YouTube! Today in the Naughty Librarian, it is day 4 of BookTube-A-Thon. Today's challenge is hosted by Sasha Alsberg, and she is from a book utopia, and she is also the author of Zenith. I have that book, hold on. This book, she's the author of Zenith. Today's challenge is Bookshelf of Books. The basic idea is you take books and you use them to build a bookshelf and then you put books on it. So another building challenges. I feel like these challenges have been very building heavy. So I was really racking my brain trying to figure out how do I make this creative? How do I make it funny and exciting and not like boring to watch? So I decided, hey, I have this big baggie of Mardi Gras beads from when I went to New Orleans this year. Why don't I do like an all New Orleans themed bookshelf? Okay, so step 1, I have to build the bookcase. So I got my big giant books here to be the bookshelves. For starters, I have The Queen of the Damned and The Vampire Lestat, both by Anne Rice, both take place in New Orleans. Boom. I also have Violin and The Witching Hour by Anne Rice, so these are going to be my load-bearing books because they are beefy. Right. So far, so good. I needed beefy books and it was hard to find, so I'm going to use Zenith because Sasha Alsberg is the host of this challenge. And I'm going to use The Bells by Danielle Clayton. It takes place in a place called Orleans, but it doesn't actually take place in this world. So, I mean, but it's still Orleans, so I'm going to count it. Ooh, that one's a little crookedy, but I'll just be gentle. Okay, so bookcase complete. Let's put some books on it. First book that takes place in New Orleans, I have Viper Game by Christine Feehan. I haven't read it, but it's a dope cover. And it's like a girl who has like snakeskin makeup. I don't know, it looks cool, but it takes place in New Orleans, so ta-da. I also have the whole Frankenstein series by Dean Koontz. It all takes place in New Orleans and surprisingly very good. It's not usually the kind of books I read because I don't really read a lot of Dean Koontz. But I really like the Frankenstein series. It was actually really good. I recommend. I also have The Surrender Gate by Christopher Rice, who is actually Anne Rice's son. And this takes place in like a voodoo like candle shop in New Orleans, and you can buy like your desires in a candle, so that's kind of cool. So it's gonna go in this. I also have Poison Princess by Kresley Cole. This is the first book of the Arcana Chronicles series, and it takes place in New Orleans. One of the main characters in this series is actually Cajun, so whenever he talks, he like speaks in Cajun, and it's really cool. So very New Orleans-y. I also have book 1 and 2 of the Wicked trilogy by Jennifer Armentrout. Book 1 is Wicked, book 2 is Torn. They both take place in New Orleans, and I really like these books because they get very specific about where they are in the city, because basically they're kind of like fairy police. The fairies are not good guys, and these guys like police them, and their headquarters is in the French Quarter. She's like, oh, I went down Dauphine and I turned left on Royale, and I was like, I have been there, I know where that is. So when I went to New Orleans, I brought like a lot of books with, because I'm just like, that's the place from that book. My poor boyfriend puts up with a lot. I also have The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty by Anne Rice. I'm not sure if this takes place in New Orleans, but I have other Anne Rice books in here, so I would be remiss to not put any books by Sherilyn Kenyon in my New Orleans bookshelf, because almost the whole Dark Hunter series takes place in New Orleans, and it's wonderful. In Night and Break, the whole book starts off with Talon at Cafe Du Monde having a chicory coffee and beignets, and then like immediately afterward he gets hit by a Mardi Gras float. Like, it's just New Orleans AF. And last but not least, I have a couple books of the Immortals After Dark series by Kresley Cole. Both of these definitely take place in New Orleans. The Valkyries have like their headquarters there. It's called Val Hall. It's getting hit by lightning all the time, but it's definitely one of those like old like Garden District Victorian homes that are in New Orleans, so very spooky. This one is very much like a French ballerina ghost in New Orleans. Totally awesome. This one is with a coven of witches that also resides in New Orleans. Lots of New Orleans fun times. And smutty bits. Okay, let's decorate this beauty. I went to New Orleans the week after Mardi Gras. So basically when I got there was like more beads on the trees than leaves. Like it was just covered in beads everywhere. Like no one cleaned up the beads. They're just like where they fell, that's where they live now. My wine is gonna be load bearing a bit. Another fun thing I learned in New Orleans is that in Mardi Gras, they're put on by all these different crews with like a K-R-E-W-E is how they spell it. And they're like basically big like party crews, and those are the people who like throw out the beads and put on the party for Mardi Gras. So a lot of these beads are like marked with different crews on them. Like this is the crew of Nyx, this is the crew of Toph, and like I have the Cleopatra crew, all kinds of different crews, so it's pretty cool. Where we stayed in New Orleans, our Airbnb was like crew of Toph headquarters area, so I have a lot of Toph beads. Look at this one. Look at this one we found. It's like a fancy one, very New Orleans-y. Let's crowning jewel here. Okay. Boom. Yay, it's beautiful. Okay, so I built a bookshelf out of books and I themed it around New Orleans. It's just like one of my all-time favorite places like in the world, so I feel good about this. Let me know in the comments down below, what are some of your favorite books that take place in New Orleans? If I missed any, let me know what they are, because I know there's more. These are just all that's gonna fit on the shelf. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like, and if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I will see you tomorrow for day 5 of BookTube-A-Thon.